Hi, this is Chuck, and I'm back to show you my third installment of my Gorgar Pinball machine restoration. And as you can see here on the playfield, there's a lot more lights going on. I've replaced all of the general illumination bulbs on the whole machine, so you can see there's a lot of light going on here. And all of the lamps that are controlled by the MPU inside, which are the ones that are blinking right now, have all been replaced as well. So I wanted to show you a couple of things, processes I'm going through today to work out some of the bugs. So let's get started. One of the most important things you can get when you go to restore a pinball machine is any documentation that you can find. And I was able to download the instruction booklet for Gorgar off of the internet, fortunately. I've also picked up a few other books. This is Pinball Machine Care and Maintenance by Bernard Kamaroff. It's very good, incredible book for both electromechanical and solid-state pinball machines. But what I wanted to show you was the how to put the machine into maintenance mode or diagnostic mode, so we can see what we can test all of the playfield components. So I'm going to come over here and show you how to do that. If I go over here and move the switch down to manual, and I hit this button, you'll see the scores all went black and the machine went out of attract mode. So what we can do is hit this button one more time, and the scores are all set back to 0. Now this first test, what I'm going to do is cycle through all the tests, and it tests the displays, the lamps, and the coils. So first I'm going to switch it to back to auto, and then hit the advanced button, and you should see all the lights start blinking. So that's a way you can check all the lamps for if they're good or not. Very quickly you can go through, because every single one of them will turn on that's not a general illumination bulb. So if I hit the button one more time, it's going to start firing the coils. And it's firing them all in sequence right now. I'm going to flip it back down to manual, and then what that'll let me do is sequence through the coils one at a time and listen for them. And I'm going to bring over this chart here, and there'll be a number that shows up in the display. It's blank right now, but it will correspond to the numbers in this list for all of the things that can be fired off by the MPU. So I'll go ahead and hit the button, and you'll probably see this coil, I believe, is the number 1, the ball release coil. So I'm going to hit it, and there it goes, it's firing. So number 1 works good. Oh, it's kind of getting hung up there. But I'll hit the next one, which is the eject hole. See, that's firing. Everything's good there. The number 3 is the drop target lifter. For that, you can't really tell, but that's what's being fired. So you'll see I'm incrementing here. We're at number 7, which says not used on this chart. So we're at 7, we'll go to 8, which is also not used, and then we'll go to 9, which is sound, and there are 5 different sounds. So that's 1. That's the next one. That's number 11. 12. 13. So those are all the non-speech related sounds that go with the machine. The next one is the credit knocker. So you'll see we're on number 14, and you'll notice that we don't hear anything. And the reason we don't hear anything is because the credit knocker coil was completely burned up. And let's see if I can find it here. The credit knocker is the coil inside the machine that fires, and it knocks against a metal bracket inside to make a loud noise when you get a like a free game or a ball. Can't remember exactly which, but this was the existing coil. Now, this coil obviously needs to be replaced. When I measure resistance across the terminals, it's showing almost no resistance, which means it's pretty much a short right inside there. All the coil is melted and created a dead short. So we need to replace it, but coils don't just burn up like this by themselves. Something causes them to burn up. So what we'll have to do is look inside at the driver board and find the circuit that is causing that coil to fire. And in this case, what's happening is that coil is locking on. As soon as the machine turns on, the coil is activating and not letting go, and they're not designed to do that. They need to be off for most of the time. And I actually tracked it down. It's this loose wire here is the one for that coil, and it's been pulled out of the plug here. So I traced it down to one of these power transistors. A lot of these have been replaced already, but I'm going to pull the board and go ahead and just start there and replace both it's called a tip 102 there, and then this is the smaller driver transistor. And I'll replace those, and hopefully that'll take care of it. But let's go ahead and cycle through the rest of the solenoids or the coils and see if anything else is not working. So I'm going to advance to the next number, 17, which is the top jet bumper. These three are jet bumpers. The top one is that one. It's number 17 on the list, and it does not work. And it is actually not burned up. However, someone pulled the wire off of the board on that one as well. So someone had the presence of mind to realize that coil had locked on, and they pulled the wire out so they could continue to play the game. But the problem still exists. So I don't have to replace the coil, but I do have to figure out why the board is constantly firing that coil. So going up to number 18, you'll see the other bumpers will fire. There's the upper left, the bottom, looking good. And then the next two are the kickers. Should be that one, there we go. And then this one, looking good. So we know the problems causing those two coils to lock on are on this driver board. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pull it off, and we're going to take a look at it and see if we can't get it working again. Alright, I got the driver board pulled out of the machine. Here it is, a Williams System 6 driver board for Gorgar. I highlighted a couple of the pins here, and you probably can't see them, but it's this one and this one. And those are the two pins corresponding to the bad coils. And the way these work is the coils in the machine always have voltage to them. So they're always receiving voltage from the transformer. And the way they fire is that they're connected to ground by these transistors. If you get a close-up here, you'll see when this was new, these would have all looked exactly the same. And there's about 3 or 4 different kinds here. You can see this last row here has one that's been replaced as well. What I'm going to do is replace this with a new part. It's a TIP 102 power transistor, and then this little transistor right here. And I'm hoping that one of those two will be the culprit and will be back in business. So I'm going to go ahead and get these swapped out, and we'll see if that fixes it. Alright, so I pulled out the bad transistors. Hopefully they were bad, and that's the problem. And I've replaced them. That one right there, and that one right there. And over here, this one and this one have been replaced. And I'm going to go throw the board back in and see what happens. I've got the driver board back in the pinball machine. You can see I've got all the plugs hooked back up to it, and it's screwed back into place. So I've got it all put back together. And you'll see I've got it. I went ahead and put it in test mode. And you'll see I'm up to 16, coil 16 or spot 16 right now, which is actually not used. The next one is 17, which was the bad jet bumper. So you remember of these 3 jet bumpers here, these 2 were good and this one was bad, and this is number 17. So I'm going to advance it to number 17, and we'll see if we hear the wonderful sound of firing coil. And there it is. So we fixed it. So this one is now fixed. I'll advance to the other 2 and show you that all 3 coils are working now for the jet bumpers. And what I have to do next is I can't test the knocker coil yet, which was the other one that was bad. And the reason I cannot test it is simply because it's not installed right now. There's a missing spot there. And so I need to just put in the new coil and rebuild the knocker assembly, and then we'll give that one a shot. Here's my Gorgar credit knocker assembly here. And as I showed you before, the coil is toast. So I have to replace it. I ordered this guy right here, brand new coil. So what I'm going to do is reassemble this whole assembly here. I'm hoping I can get it all back together right. This little rubber bumper here is pretty rotted. But honestly, this looks a little different. There's a piece of plastic here which I'm not sure if I need to transfer over. But I'm going to give it a shot and see if I can get this back together. My credit knocker is reinstalled. It's right here on the inside of the bottom part of the pinball machine. Check it out. My credit knocker is now working. So that means the transistor repair I did was successful. Unfortunately, it sounds very quiet, and I'm not sure if there's not enough juice getting to the coil, and so it's firing quietly, or if this is just how they sound. And the credit knocker is more or less working, so I think I'm going to move on at this point to put back together the playfield.